Hey friends, in the last video we learned how to fetch all the values from the database and return it from a get endpoint. In this video we will learn how to insert values in the database using a post endpoint. So first what we will do is we'll create our post endpoint and the URL will be same /notes. And in a post endpoint we receive a body from our client and we read it using call.receive method. If you don't know that, go back to the previous videos where I have taught you how to read bodies from a post endpoint. So here what we will do is we will read it from call.receive, and in call.receive it asks for the class name whose structure represents how our body will look like, and we don't have any class right now. So in our case we will create a new model here which will be a Kotlin data class and name it node request, and this will have only one property called note, which will be of type string, and we will mark it as serializable. And serializable is important because then we can deserialize our JSON body into our node request class, and then we will pass node request here. So now if you see that the request is of type node request. And now the second thing that we have to do is insert this into the database, and we will use the database object here and call the insert method, and this method wants to know what type of entity we want to insert the data in. So in this case it's nodes entity, and we will simply call the set in the closure, and it will be we want to set the node value, and it is request.node. And what this method does is when it inserts the value, it tells us how many rows have been updated. So it is returning an int here which specifies that number. So we will save it in a variable, and then we will check if result equals to 1. That means because here we are inserting only one row, so we want to specifically check that only one row has been inserted, not multiple ones. And when the result is 1, it means the insert to the database is successful. So we want to do a successful response to the client, and otherwise send failure response to the client. So to send a successful and a failure response, what we will do is we will create another class that will represent our response here, and our response will have two things. One is a boolean which will tell us whether the operation was successful or not with true or false, and the another one will be either an object or a string. It will be a generic parameter. So we will create that data class now. Again, let's create another model data class node response, and this will simply be, again, mark it as serializable, and it will have two properties. One will be val data, which will be of the generic type, so we can change it as we want, and the another one will be val success, which will be of boolean. So let's go back to our router here, and here what we will do is we'll do call dot respond, and with HTTP status code OK, and node response here. So success equals to true, and data will be value has been successfully inserted, and then we will just copy paste this, and instead of OK we will send bad request. Success will be false, and then this will be failed to insert value. Now let's run our server. Go to Postman. So we see that we don't have learn Android here. So what we will do is we'll go to our post endpoint, and in the body we will say learn Android development and send the request, and the value has been successfully inserted. And then we come back to the get one, and you see that at the end the new value has been inserted and we are able to read it. Let's try making some more requests. So test request and then send again, get all the values. Now it's test request. So let's go through the code once again for a recap. So first you read the value from using call.receive. Then using the DB object, you insert it into the notes entity and set the note column with the note that you got in the request. And then this method returns the number of rows affected. So as we are inserting only one row, this should return 1. So we check if the result equals to 1. That means the value has been successfully inserted in the database. So we send the response accordingly and set the status code as OK. And otherwise, we send the response as bad request. And you can handle the case here differently. You can have their multiple different status codes according to what happened here, and then the success is false here. So this is up to your interpretation, how you want to handle success and failure cases. So, and other than this method, we created a node request class which represents the body that we will receive, and this node response class which we are sending it as the response, whether it's successful or a failure. I hope you enjoyed this video, and in the next video we will learn how to read just one node from the database. Thank you very much.